Wow. It's hard to sum it in words. Quite a big moment for me.
Right.
I think every day we wake up working, and I believe serving and doing what we have to do. But I think it's not often with the intention to win something. To get recognition for what I do was really quite humbling, I must admit. And if you look at the category I was within, very seasoned, exceptional leaders. But I'll tell you what was the icing on the cake is that it was by Hope FM. I must say, it's not every day you have an award that has church behind it, and there's a background to that. I have grown for the bulk of my life within church. I was within CTAM in the early days within a dance group called Dito.
Dance
So,
group.
Dance
Oh,
group.
okay.
I have grown up for most of my life singing in church, serving in church.
Okay.
So when it comes from an environment like that, I think for me it was that much more interesting. But I think the additional part, which was the song that played as I went on stage, was about grace.
Uh-huh.
And that for me was the absolute icing on the cake, because without a doubt it is the story of my life, that it is grace. It is purely by God's grace. It is not I'm not any different. We are all human beings, 2 hands, 2 legs, isn't it?
Yes.
One brain. And it is God who enables us to be in these positions. You know, we're told promotion does not come from the east
Or west.
and that's a reality for me. So it was big in that, in so many aspects. It was the aspect of grace. It is being recognizing what that means, but also the fact that I keep saying that these recognitions enable us to use these spaces to hold space for others who also are coming up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we would continue on that conversation for a while, because being a believer who is in the corporate world, how is that, before we get into strategies?
I think this is the thing. I keep saying, you can, being a believer and being in the workplace, I believe is our life is about ministry. It is who we are, how we carry ourselves, how we choose to conduct our business, the assignments we have.
Right.
It's stewardship. It is assignments that we have to deliver on. The corporate environment is made up of people, and these people have beliefs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to the fact that we go back to the Word of God. What is the church? The church is not a building.
It's not.
It's not a building. It
Yeah.
is people.
Right.
So within the workplace, we have people who, by the leaning of their hearts,
Yes.
are either believers and therefore the church,
Yeah.
or choose a different direction. So the marketplace, for me, is a place for us to demonstrate and live out what we claim to be. It is not the easiest place because there's so many competing opportunities. But I believe that at the end of the day, as long as you continue to lean towards God in terms of direction, in terms of what will you have me do, then it gets a lot easier. I'm also a believer that when God gives you an assignment, he gives you the anointing for it.
Amen.
And that often makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
We take it very lightly when we said that he makes our paths straight.
Yeah.
But for me, whenever we've been new roles, new opportunities, often it looks very daunting. And often at times I'm reminding him about the giants that are there.
Right.
But then he goes ahead and you can see him actively really cleaning out or removing the giants. But we have to be stewards. We have to lead through integrity. We have to do what we have said we are going to do, not just through our words, but also through our actions.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so straight on into the conversation. Talking about strategy and the importance of businesses to have strategy. Is it a need? Is it a necessity?
I think it starts with, what is strategy?
Yes.
And it sounds like a really big word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
but what is strategy? I think strategy is really just a compass and a guide for businesses, and it's regardless of size, whether it's a big business or that's that tiny SME starting. It's really a plan on achieving your future goals, because you're going to have defined resources, you're going to have I mean, you can't do everything. You have to decide, where do I want to play? What do I want to focus on? What resources do I have financially? But what resources do I have in terms of talent and resources? So strategy is essentially your long-term plan and being able to align your resources and everything that you have to be able to give you the best advantage. So really, it's just a plan. So it is absolutely critical that you know where you're going. And again, I'll draw reference from the Bible.
Please
My
do.
people perish
For lack of
vision, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where are you going? What do you want to do? If you draw it up very clearly, you find that oftentimes then it begins to have definition in terms of, what do you want to prioritize? What do you want to spend time doing? How much should you expend? So that you don't overcommit or overstretch in certain areas. So strategy is an absolute must-have, regardless of whether you're a startup or a large organization. So that it helps you know, where do you allocate your resources? What do you have? What don't you have? Where can you play that's within that will give you a competitive advantage? Yes.
All right. Okay.
All right, talking about business strategy, how does it relate maybe with the structure of a business, the culture? How does the three maybe relate?
Good question. We often say structure follows strategy, but we also say strategy eats culture for breakfast.
All right.
You define what you want to do, and then you define, because the people are resources, just like every other resource you will have.
Yeah.
So you define your strategy. What do you want to do? Perhaps you say, I want to grow my business to be the largest
Yeah.
XYZ business. We have grand visions, and I'm a strong believer in, dream big.
Yes.
Dream big, right? So you have this big dream. Then you define, okay, what do I have? What can it enable me to do, and draw up the frame that you can be able to play in.
Yeah.
Now, what structure does is then say, what resources do I need in what areas to enable me deliver this? And that is where the structure comes in.
All right.
What role is critical? For example, you'll be managing money. Finance will be critical. You will be handling customers. What is operations, client services? You probably will be doing business development, so you'll define those. But especially as you grow through, because this is an area I find that most businesses end up with a trap, is talent is such a critical aspect of your business.
All right.
Especially because you have the structure, which is a tool, but the life of it is the people who will be delivering what you have committed to do. And I keep saying the toughest part around leadership is you don't get to do the job yourself.
Yes.
It is very easy. It is very easy if you have a job, to do it yourself.
Yes.
But how about if you have to have other people deliver your vision? How much more?
Not
work
an
it is?
easy.
It's not an easy thing.
Not an easy thing.
Very much of a different ball game.
Yeah.
So the right people in terms of mindset, and we often say, hire for attitude, train for skill.
Hire for attitude,
Hire for attitude, train for skill.
Okay.
You could get someone with the best skill set, but the attitude just isn't right.
Yes.
But if you have the right attitude, most of the time they can learn.
Wow.
So you want to be able to have a good structure that can support that. When you're starting, please make sure and try as much as possible to make sure it's lean. Most businesses tend to blow up really quickly, and often you have more people doing a lot of other things, and then you increase what we call your fixed cost. Once you increase your fixed cost, now you begin to struggle, because remember, you had resources that are
Right.
running this business.
Yes.
Now your structure, if the structure becomes too heavy, it then is a lot more strenuous to run your business. So structure follows strategy. You must know where you're going. Then you have the structure that enables you to do that. Culture is our way of doing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's living, breathing people who enable this. So back to attitude, the right people, our way of doing things. What are those ethos and values that we subscribe to?
Yes.
Not things we have on a wall with written integrity.
Yeah.
Is it practiced? And for most leaders, we say fish rots from the head.
Okay.
You can't ask other people to do what
You're not
willing
doing.
to do. So if it's written, if it's value, if it's integrity,
Yes.
is it what you do? If it is passion, do you demonstrate it?
Yes.
Because people will tend to follow, your team will tend to follow more what you do
Yes.
than what you say. So that aspect then is important to structure, strategy, and then culture. But authentic leadership and leading by example becomes absolutely critical to make this work.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Njeri. You sort of went ahead of myself because I had wanted to ask, so what do you consider when you're coming up with strategies? I don't know if there's anything else away from what you've just mentioned, or we should stay at that. And then I would ask, how do you remove those things that you've written on the wall and actually make them become real in the life of your organization?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So a couple of things you'll consider when you're setting out a strategy. Again, we've said your vision.
Yeah.
And your vision is where you're trying to go. Your mission is mostly how you're going to get there. Right. It's a lot more practical in how to get there. The second thing you want to check is your market. Do a market analysis so that you can be able to tell what are the industry strengths, trends, what's really going on, because you're going to operate within a market and you need to understand where you're playing. What are the key, what are the real customer needs, what's the competitive landscape, and what do I have that enables me to win in this dynamic. So that's absolutely critical. Again, define your competitive advantage. What are you good at?
All right.
And in most cases, what you find is there's one area you are good. Everybody else and every organization is good at something. It is very rare to find organizations that are good at all things. But also, most organizations are not trying to be all things. They often find what they're best at, and then they refine that, and then they build other areas. So what is it that you're really good at that you can be able to focus on? So, for example, some of us are running 10 businesses. You're running a bookstore, you're running this, you're running that, you're running that.
Yeah.
Now, you want to be able to say, what is my strongest skill set? Perhaps you're also running a fashion design or an interior design. So you find, naturally I'm creative. Naturally I'm great at this. Naturally I'm very good with numbers. Find what you are strong at and be able to use those things to be able to help you win. Now, usually, we often do a diagram where we do strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, what I'd invite our listeners to do is go and draw out a box.
Yeah.
And then put strength at the very top, and strength and weakness at the top, and opportunities and threats. Now, whatever is in your strengths and opportunities is your short-term goal.
Okay.
Make that something that your business is going to prioritize.
Whatever is in your strengths.
Whatever is the convergence of your strengths and opportunities. Remember, we drew a box.
Yeah.
At this box, we split it into four.
Okay.
Now, the top right corner, top left corner is where you have a convergence of your strengths and your opportunities.
All right.
Okay.
Now, those become your short-term goals, because those are already things you're very strong at. Now, the things that you come and find are within the box of your strengths, but are within your weaknesses. Those are areas you want to quickly manage, because you want to, strengths, your strengths and opportunities. Then you have weaknesses and threats. Those are things you want to manage, because they could quickly water down everything you've worked on. So it helps you begin to prioritize. Where you have convergence between your, I'm struggling with this diagram because I'm drawing it in my head. So when you have the opportunities and threats, then these are medium-term issues you want to manage. And where you have a convergence between your strengths and your threats, those are medium-term opportunities you want to manage, because the weaknesses can quickly disorient your business. So again, what becomes immediate and short-term? Identify what are your strengths and opportunities, quickly optimize those. That's a quick win for your business. Then actively manage the convergence between your strengths and your threats, and your opportunities and your weaknesses. And those are your midterm priorities, to be able to find where can you also turn those into strengths and be able to work in your favor. But where you have a convergence between your threats and your weaknesses, those are areas you want to actively manage, because those are risks that could potentially really do away with the great business and whatever you've already built.
Right. I had wanted to find out, how do you bring whatever it is that you have written on because I've had people say it's important for you to post them on the wall,
Absolutely.
your core values and what you believe in. So how does this translate from the wall to the people?
That is true. So I keep saying businesses, again, we have to remember, are living breathing things. They're people. It is people who make things happen.
Right.
One of the things I found that is quite useful is as you define this vision, mission, and values, that people are involved in crafting who do we want to be. So as a leader, I think our biggest role is being able to paint a very strong vision and being able to tell people, this is where we are going, this is where we are trying to go. Now, how do we get there? And we define that through our mission. But then what will we need to do to get there? What will we need to embody to get there? And those are our values, isn't it? So the team then participates in defining what that will look like, because you need buy-in. You're going to be working with people, so you need them to buy in. So when they define integrity, they will define, what does integrity look like? When we define passion, what does passion look like? When we define excellence, what does excellence look like in our setting?
Yes.
If we say we have a customer focus, what does that look like? So when you put it on the wall, it is already something they understand. It is already something that they have agreed, okay, fine, this is important. And it is also something that they've said, okay, how do we embed it in what we do on a day-to-day? So people involvement in defining them is absolutely critical. So then it's real for them, and it is something that they can embed in what they do. So that is what moves it from the wall. But I've said it's involving them, but again, lead from the front. It is often easy for us as leaders to be the big bosses. But it will often work to our detriment. We really have to be able to demonstrate what we are asking, because then, and increasingly with the younger generation, you find that they challenge more what they see you do than what you're telling them to telling them to do. So as you'll have to live out what you are defining.
Yes.
Because when you have that kind of authentic leadership, you find then it's a lot easier for them to work for you. And remember, as I've said, as a leader, you're not the one working. You're relying on other people to work.
Yes.
So their buy-in and their ability to do what needs to be done with the same passion, if not more, and with the same buy-in, if not more, and therefore deliver a result, is very critical for you. So the posture then is critical, which is why one of the things I speak about is about what is your leadership posture. Is it a posture of power?
Yes.
Or is it a posture of service? Now, I find that whatever posture you choose, you have to be clear that it helps you achieve the objective of your business or the objective of your organization you're leading. For me, I find that service works magically.
Yes.
That you get people to feel like they win with you and they own it and they drive it. And often, then results take care of themselves.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, well, coming up with a business strategy.
Yes.
Should it be cast on stone, or should it be flexible enough? Because I know sometimes things happen. We have factors that affect business strategies.
Yes.
I don't know, how can we draw the balance or strike a balance between having it firm and having it flexible enough? And what are some of these factors that may affect business strategies?
Very good question. Now, business strategy, as we said, is a plan.
Yes.
We want to get somewhere, and we're saying, how do we get there? And then we just want clarity in which area we want to play in that gives us the best competitive advantage. Now, often businesses have come from a point where they used to do strategies every 5 years. Increasingly, we've discovered, well, a lot changes within 5 years. So we're now beginning to see 3 years, and mostly with an annual refresh. I believe business strategy is a living, breathing document. It is current. It is what is happening. The question is, again, back to the issues. Yes, you had your vision, mission, but there were moving parts.
Yes.
And one of those which I forgot to mention, which is, yes, you did your market analysis, but there's a customer.
Okay.
Right.
Your customer, what are they? Are their dynamics still the same? Is it changing? Is it not? For example, is their disposable income still the same or not? What has changed? How can you still enable them to consume your product? Has there been any legislative change that then requires you to tweak something or tweak the other? So strategy is a living, breathing document that then continues to be one that you review and say, okay, what has changed, and therefore what must change about our approach. Your vision may not change as much,
Yes.
but the how,
All right.
I
How you
often say,
deliver.
yes, can change as many times as it may need to help you
Yes.
get there. Now, of course, you can't change it every other month.
Yeah.
To shift goalposts.
You can't shift goalposts. But one great practice that you notice, most companies will say, okay, what's our strategy? What's our plan for the year? And then after 6 months, we say, okay, what's going on? And then one of the things that businesses actively do
Yes.
is manage strategy risk.
Okay.
What is going on in our environment
Right.
that is likely to affect our ability to achieve strategy? Now, if you keep your eye on that, you're able to know which ones then are existential and mean, essentially, by the way, this one means we can't, and then that calls for an earlier point. And if you keep checking those aspects, you'll know when to change, when to pause, and when to tweak. But in most cases, it is good business sense to have a somewhat medium-term strategy, but keep reviewing, keep a very close tab on your risks, and more importantly, your strategic risks, because you know which ones have an impact and are likely to impact your ability to do business. For example, if your strategy was built around serving government, and then government makes a change in policy in a certain area, that is significant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what does that then mean for your business? And often that is a proactiveness that lacks. And if you wait to react, at times it's maybe a little too late.
Yes.
And one of the things you find in business, that even in chaos, there's opportunity,
Okay.
Wow, I like that.
right?
All right.
It is an issue of how aware are you of your environment,
Yeah.
and how do you continue being very aware of your environment to be able to say, okay, what must we tweak? What must we change? So it will be, for example, election period, you do printing of T-shirts,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, after election period, what else is the next thing? Businesses move into marketing campaigns. Okay, I'm going to tweak my business in this season. This is what I'm going to. So you keep finding, you could still do the same thing, and keep finding opportunities to make sure that your business remains adaptable and agile to fit within the different environments. That is what takes care of sustainability.
All right.
Yes.
While we may not change the vision, Njeri, like you put it, are there instances where, strategies have completely failed and one has to totally go to the drawing board? Because I know some people would sometimes feel like, maybe I was not cut out for this. Watch a tweakai,
Yes, yes.
and they give up and don't want to do this again. How do you address a situation where you feel like it's failed, like nothing of this is working? It's not a matter of amending. It's just not, the whole thing needs to crumble.
Okay. One of the things I think that's absolutely critical to begin there is to separate yourself from the issue.
Separate from the issue. All right.
Okay.
The strategy has failed. You have not failed. Now,
I like that, yeah.
because those two then impact your mindset
Yeah.
and how you move forward from that point.
Right.
So that then you have a good opportunity. Once you say, okay, fine, the strategy did not work, then it allows you to say what went wrong. But you see, if it's personalized,
Yeah.
what did I do wrong?
Right.
Which changes. and you're
Changes
not-
the game.
and you're not very good at being very critical of ourselves. It becomes a rabbit hole.
Right.
So you say, what went wrong? What really did go wrong? We had certain assumptions. What were they? What had we assumed will happen?
Yeah.
What has changed, or what went wrong? And often we are always wiser with hindsight. And the beauty of it, there is no successful organization today that has not gone through a failure or the other.
Okay.
Every organization does go through one kind of failure or the other. What they choose to do is what matters. So one of the things you want to do is be able to say what went wrong, analyze the strategy, identify in detail which are the areas that failed. Was it pure execution? Were the goals unrealistic? Did the market change? Did you not have sufficient resources? I think it's good to identify what happened, so then you can be able to address it. Then go to the next issue. Engage stakeholders, seek feedback. Now you have done your own. Talk to your team, your customers. Try and get touch points that are honest and tell you what really did not work about the strategy. So that now, as you tweak, you are wiser, because you're not going to shut down.
Yeah.
You're going to change strategy,
Yes.
right? And now wiser, knowing what does not work. Now revisit your assumptions, revisit your objectives, because now you have nuance insights as to what works and what doesn't work, and so on. Adjust your resource allocation now to gear up, and now develop a new strategy. Remember, you started with separating the issue from yourself.
Right.
Yes.
So you are dealing with a strategy. You
Yeah.
are dealing with an issue.
Yeah.
So you now can develop one with the insights that you now have. Now implement again, monitor, and you'll find that you get a lot better right? And you keep learning and adapting. Again, there's no successful business today that does not go through one kind of failure or the other. Some are spectacular failures, right? Others are more public than others.
Yeah.
And regardless of your business size, it's very easy for you to feel like I'm failing. It's very important to first say, you know what? Look, I went into this. What was not right about this? What was wrong about the strategy? Pick up the issue so that you can really be objective. Because you'll find that this time you're going in a lot wiser, knowing what works and doesn't work. And you're therefore a lot more likely to succeed in your next strategy.
Wow. Thank you, Njeri. Let's hold it right there for now. We take a very quick break, but we'll be back in a few. If you have a question or comment, kindly share it through our number 0717 400 555 20933 is our SMS line. We'll be sampling some of your feedback right after this break.
The Corporate Hub on Activate. Your
Minutes to the top of the hour, the 18th of July, the year 2024. We are on Corporate Hub this wonderful morning. We are talking about a winning business strategy, and we're engaging, Njeri Jomo helping us unpack the conversation. Now, Njeri, talking about strategy, there are some businesses that are the comfort of being operational, and not strategic. Now, where do we draw the line?
Thank you. I want to go back to what we said about what strategy is a plan. Being operational is doing things.
Yes.
The challenge with when we're doing things, we then don't have a good pulse on whether it's working, what's working.
We lack
what's
targets.
Yes. What's changing. And the challenge with that is the market moves really fast.
Okay.
And there's normally quite a number of changing dynamics about the customer operating environment. And often when you don't have a good pulse on that, whatever seems to be working right now may be completely redundant in a couple of years.
Yes.
One of the biggest examples that is often given is most of us, or some of us, are in the age where we used to wait for the cameraman to come and take photos, and these guys will come and they take photos, and we'd wait for them for a couple
Several
of
months,
yes, and we'd wait for them for several months. And then one day we woke up and Kodak was not there anymore.
Yes.
That's the same example I'll use about our businesses. You can wake up every day doing what you're doing, saying we're doing things right. But it's different to do things right and to do the right thing.
All right.
Strategy enables you to know whether you're doing the right thing, because remaining relevant is very important for your business. It's important to go back and say, okay, so what's going on and how do I reposition my business to continue to be agile and relevant for today? Today, the big trend is technology. So let me give an example. You could be operationally just going, and we're doing.
Yes.
But then the question is, what is the right thing to be doing right now?
Yeah.
Isn't
It's
it?
not enough to do. What's the right thing to do?
Yes, what's the right thing to be doing? Because you have two options. And often, unfortunately for us, most African businesses struggle with the fact of not being able to transition beyond the first generation.
Yeah.
But it's often because we're not thinking about the conversation on sustainability. How will this business continue to exist? And it's in the discipline of strategy. You step back, say, what is happening around me? What is changing? And how do I adapt my business and my operations to be able to fit where we're going? Today, the biggest business trend, as you already know, is technology. We have gone heavy on automation and digitizing. Why are we doing this? Because we recognize that increasingly the business environment is more competitive. We want to be efficient, so we automate what needs to be. What is repetitive.
Yes.
And then we keep the technical skills and keep those being done. But we automate, become more efficient, become faster, but also become leaner, which is better for cost for the business. Now you could say, well, mine is on paper, I trust it more. So those are the things I'm saying. There's an issue of doing things and doing things right and doing the right things.
Okay.
Choosing to remain operational without being strategic really is a real issue for your business. It may very well not have much longer because of how fast everything is changing. The other thing I want to say, the biggest issue about the business environment today is that the world is flat.
Okay.
You're no longer competing with a business next to you, but you're competing with some business in India
Yes.
being set up.
Yeah.
You're competing with some business in South Africa or in Rwanda.
It's another
going
global
on right
village.
now. Now that changes the dynamic, which means your customer and whatever you're giving them and whatever you're consuming is now comparing what you're offering them with everybody else. And this is incidentally, regardless of what we're offering. You were as simple as doing a restaurant. Great. Now you're competing with international brands as well next door.
Yes.
So you have to keep asking, how do I remain relevant to my customer and continue adapting to the business changes of today?
Wow.
In the light of that, then that means that constant conversations have to happen between the leader and the people that they're leading.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. So go ahead.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, first again, back to the beginning. The biggest dilemma for a leader is you're not going to get the work done yourself. The higher you go, the more you become strategic. And it's often the teams then are more operational and do the initiatives. In fact, increasingly we say the higher you are to the apex, you're paid to think. Because you're really thinking about where are we going, how we are doing, which is incidentally very exhausting work.
Yes.
Half the time I tell my team, it is easier for me to go and sit at the call center and pick calls for that day. Because when I put my handset down, the work for the day is done. But in my job, I carry my work home because I'm still processing. And everything I see on the news, and I'm thinking, so how does that impact my business?
Yes.
So what does that mean? And that continues to be, something that you have to do. So the leader must remain as in touch as possible with their teams, and not just with their teams in terms of where it's it's just functional, like
Yeah,
come and say
yeah.
hello and so on.
Yes.
I find that it's extremely valuable to engage your team and be able to know how are you doing, and in some cases, and this is what I find most valuable, is go to the very bottom of the shop floor, which is what we call listening to the sound of the river.
Okay.
You have to be able to go down to really know what are the real issues, because the higher you go as a leader, the more you will be managed, right?
Okay. Okay.
The more the script you get will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But how do you remain relevant? Because it's more conversation on relevance, is really going down to the last person on the shop floor who does not have a leadership title,
Right.
because that person relies on everybody else to get it done, and asking them, how are we doing? How could we serve better? It is absolutely impressive to see how people have different ideas. The beauty of the human being, or all of us as human beings, is we are all born with different intelligences.
Absolutely.
I always marvel at how somebody else is an aeronautical engineer, another one is a surgeon,
Yes.
another one is doing something else. All of us are so uniquely different and possess such amazing type of intelligences. Now, leveraging on all of these minds is how you win as a leader.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, there's no monopoly of ideas. Just
Sure.
because you're in charge doesn't mean you know everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ask, some of the things that we've implemented in our business come from the team. And sometimes it's someone on the shop floor saying, could we do this? So you have to create avenues where they're able to engage you, where you remain approachable and keep your door open so that you can keep that engagement going, and so that you're able to grow the business. The person in call center has a better feel of the customer than I do. My care navigator in hospital has a better feel of the customer than I do,
Yeah.
and everybody else. And therefore, they become very critical for me in terms of being able to understand what is going on
Yeah.
within my business, and therefore know what needs to be changed. Again, the biggest trap, you're at the top. What you have is power.
Yes.
Without context, or you could lead that ship into a proper train smash. So you need to make sure that while you have power,
Yeah.
you make sure you always have the right context, so that you're able to make the decisions that continue to make the business a strong going concern.
Wow. Great. We are just about to wind it up, but before we do that, allow us to take some of the comments and questions, possibly, if any, that we are receiving from our audience this morning. Good morning to you, Jacob. Such an amazing conversation. You say tuned in from Rongai. Asante Sarah, thank you. You say you are following the conversation this morning, and so are you, Emmy. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Nice discussion, Madam CEO, and congratulations on your award. They were wondering about whether it is the strategy, it is the culture that eats the strategy, or the strategy that eats the culture.
Okay, culture is strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
So you have a great document on paper, but the culture is what we do, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a living, breathing document if it's not what we do. If we have a poor execution culture, if we don't work well.
Yeah.
And again, I keep saying we have to simplify this to the smallest of businesses, because at times it sounds like it's big corporations only.
Yes.
I'll pick let me look for you, which is the simplest example. You're running a restaurant and you've said, what we have to do is increase our customer foot flow. Everybody, including the person who is serving the customer, needs to know what we are trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is their practices. It is how they engage that customer. When that customer is screaming, it's how they choose to serve them. If we say we are serving with a smile,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It really can be a superficial smile,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It is our culture. It's how we engage. It's how we support each other. It's how, when I see my colleague is struggling, how I choose to step in. So culture, it's strategy for breakfast. So, and that's the people aspect.
Yeah.
It's people who are going to serve. So you want to take care of them. You want to make sure they know what we are trying to achieve. Remember, we need them to buy in,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So they build in, and they feel that they're winning together. And one of the things that's absolutely powerful for any business, celebrate your wins as a team. I mean, you say, fine, we wanted to grow our business, we wanted to double our customers this year, and they do. And you have to make a big deal about that. Right? And tell them, guys, we said we were going to double our customers, we did. And when they celebrate, it's interesting to see how much more willing they are to try and go to that next level. While you might own the business, while you are at the top, you must remember that you're going to rely on these guys to deliver your big ideas and your big vision.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Many more comments. It's one quoting you over and over in our space. We must learn to listen to the river. Love it. I need to follow Njeri on X. This one says, I love this. And yes, today that's such wise counsel from Njeri. And Asante, you say, wow, I'm loving the talk. She is talking to those of us that have begun the path and heading to SMEs. Asante sana, and on and on and on and on. The comments are several, but allow us to leave it at that because our time is pretty much well spent. Njeri, what would be your closing remark?
My closing remark is around recognizing that leadership is stewardship. And it's where we began when I started. I said, you get an assignment and you get an anointing to deliver. And I keep saying one of the things that as leaders we must be very conscious of is when I read the Bible, in the Word of God, it said, and the Spirit of the Lord left so.
Yes.
So God gives you his anointing to hold that role which he has given you to do. And it is very important that we are good stewards of what is in our hands.
Absolutely.
And that's always by always remembering, where is our source? Where does this come from? And what is this assignment for this period? At times it looks like you're just running a business. At times it looks like you're just reporting to deliver a P&L. But I find that it is marketplace ministry.
Right.
It is.
Yes.
It is because you're leading people, you're touching lives. These are families. These are people you're reaching. These are needs that you are serving. And therefore that defines your posture. Is it going to be a leadership posture of power or a leadership posture of service? My ask is that for all of us as we lead, whatever assignment you're holding in your hand, that you recognize that this is stewardship and make sure that you take good care of it, you grow it,
Thank you.
you deliver it. And when the next time for your next assignment comes, then he's always going to be able to entrust you with a lot more.
Wow.
Awesome.
What a point and a place to leave it at. Njeri Jomo is the CEO of Jubilee Health Insurance Limited, and she was our guest today on the Corporate Hub. We are honored to have had you. Asante sana for your time.
Thank you. And I must pass a shout out to my senior pastor, my Reverend Nick Korir at Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Great.
Our time is gone. Melissa Odor is up next with the latest in the news.